So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our global Nimble community. This is a special day for me for a number of reasons, but most importantly, that I have a good friend, Max Altschuler, here with me to inspire and educate our friends. I really believe that we're on this planet to grow by helping other people grow. And if you spend your day on a daily basis connecting with other human beings and figuring out how you might be able to add value, even if it's simply a smile, that you will achieve all your dreams in life. That's your purpose in life. That's your purpose. Sales, service is the new sales. And I think that Max has been teaching modern sales techniques for some time in a number of different roles. You've been in startups, Max, and now you've got your own conference and you're publishing books.
Yeah,
I've been admiring your hacking sales, and now you're doing career hacking is your latest book that's out, and you've been in biz dev for some significant startups, and now you're building the sales hacker community and conferences. So we're really lucky to have you join us today for this conference. Welcome.
thanks for having me. I got worried for a sec. My internet just kicked out, and I had to dial back in on the phone. But you were monologuing and saved me there, so thank you. And
That's
good
all
to
right.
be here.
That's all right. So what we're here today to cover is a little bit about how sales is evolving and where it's headed. I really do believe that clearly customers have changed the way they buy, and we need to change the way that we sell. And I really believe that social media is increasing the transparency and the expectations of humans to humans. And I think that you need to figure out how to leverage your referrals and reviews, how to increase your sales and marketing and sales engagement. And so what we're going to do today is share some of those tips and tricks and experiences that you and I have collectively garnered. And what I love about this is that I just have to assume, because you have millennial in your title, that you're a millennial, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And the thing is I think that we can learn from the millennials, right? And that millennials learn from us, and that collectively all of our ideas are really built on the shoulders of the giants, the Zig Ziglars, the Dale Carnegie, the Napoleon Hills, and then we sort of synthesize net new ideas with the new methods of communications and engagement. And I think that we might be coming full circle in a renaissance in relationships with the evolution of social media and how it's transforming the way that people buy, work, play, and sell. What do you think, Max?
yeah, definitely. I was on a webinar with a company called Altify the other day on just the millennial topic and millennials and sales, and I think our generation is native to texting, pretty much native to Facebook. So we are a naturally we've communicated differently than generations before us. And so I think when you project that into the sales space, there are obviously different ways that we're going to go about communicating with people to close deals or even build relationships that maybe generations before us haven't done. So I think when you talk about like social place in sales, and you think about what LinkedIn is doing these days, what Twitter is doing these days to encourage that, mixed with how millennials think and act and what they were brought up doing, it just makes logical sense that would be a big part of kind of the future of sales.
Exactly. And so let's start this off and before we do that, I want to encourage the people listening to ask questions. We've got Joey Kelly in the back end who can curate and answer any questions that are applicable to the individual. The ones that are applicable to the audience at large will cover as we get into the Q&A section at the end. So be sure to use that Q&A section. So Max, how do you think sales has evolved, and where do you think it's headed?
Yeah, so overall, it's evolved quite a bit. You had, I think the first sellers had, phone, then you got email, then you got, more robust CRMs, and now you have, I don't know, I think the last Lucid chart or whatever the things are, Lumascape had 600 or 700 different software companies that were building for salespeople. So the money from VC, while it's amazing that sales is becoming more efficient, more scientific, data backed, and you have analytics, and you have tools that can help you automate a lot of the mundane tasks. At the same time, you want to make sure that it's supporting your sales process and not trying to replace your sales process. I think it was a Bill Gates quote that was, the tech applied to a efficient process will make it more efficient. Tech applied to an inefficient process will make it more inefficient. It's a magnifying glass. So, you need to make sure that if you are, evolving as a sales team, you should take advantage of the new technology, and you should, make sure that you're getting that leg up. Otherwise your competition's but you don't want to over rely on it to the point where you're gonna hope to use it to automate everything. It's really just something that's there to support your processes, make things more efficient, more effective, not replace those processes. So the tech side of things, it's a really bright future from a social point of view, and where we're going with that. We have more data at our fingertips than ever before, but so does our buyer. So it's interesting to see how that's going to continue to affect, how people buy, and how we sell. And so we'll go into in a little bit, referrals and reviews, and we'll go into, chat and a couple other things. But it's a great time to be in sales, and I think it's becoming more consultative because they have more information than ever before. You're not trying to, I don't know. I don't think that the used car sales tactics work anymore. I think it's more of a consultation. They have the information. Now it's just walking them through it and kind of teaching and training them.
Yeah, I definitely agree that nobody wants to buy from Slick Willie anymore. And you can't build brand by telling people how great you are or your products are. Nobody cares. Stop talking about yourself. Stop talking about your products. Start becoming a trusted advisor. And ultimately, you have to be top of mind in your, not just your prospects and customers' journey, but also their influencers as well. It's one of the things that I learned at Goldmine is that there's only 8 to 14 hours in the day that you could sell. And ultimately, what you want is other people selling for you. And how do you do that? You identify the influencer of your prospect and you build relationships with them, pay them forward, and ultimately they become your evangelist. But what you want is you want to be top of mind when your customers are making buying decisions. So when they think about a product or service in around the area of your promise, that they not only pick up the phone and call you, but they drag their friends with them. And how do you do that? And I think that's sort of the struggle. And I think that part of the struggle is that there's just a million tools that you could use to automate some of these processes. But Max, I don't think a day goes by that I don't get an automated email that just is so poorly written, and then the follow-up email that automatically comes because it's part of a machine. And I think that the more digital we get, the more human we need to be, and we need to stand out by being more relevant and authentic, as opposed to thinking that you're going to use something like Outreach.io and automate all your outreach, and that's actually going to fill your funnel with people interested in you. What do you think about the exploding market of sales intelligence tools and sales enablement email tracking tools that you need to buy with your CRM, and the fact that it costs nearly $300 to $500 per rep per month to arm the modern salesperson?
Yeah, I think it's okay to arm the modern salesperson that way. I think the future of your CRM is going to be one that gives you revenue attribution and makes it more efficient for you to see what's really working and what's not. And I do like the ability to A/B test things and run all of your engagement through one tool. But I agree with you that you can't just set it up and fire off 1,000 emails in some cadence, and that's going to be some kind of best practice. And it really does depend on who you're selling to as well. If you're selling to SMB, there's no way for you to make SMB sales financially successful if you're you're going out and you're doing customized emails and taking phone calls for, $500 a year deals. It's transactional sales. Like you just can't set a sales force up like that. And if you're doing enterprise or mid-market and commercial and the deal sizes are bigger and you're getting, into the $5, $10, $15,000 deals and up, then you need a much higher touch. You can't automate things and just blast them out there and hope that that's going to work. And, originally when we started doing this, when these tools weren't as abundant and this wasn't like a, now kind of like an epidemic, for us at Udemy, since our sales process was a lot more SMBs, and then we had some big publishers. But the SMB side of things, it was like inbox marketing for us. Like I almost didn't even think about it as like a sales process. Almost it was like, hey, we're going to be able to get in their inbox a couple times on a cadence so they see our brand name. So like maybe they'll click on one of the emails, see it. Maybe they'll click on, an advertisement on Facebook when we retarget them, et cetera, et cetera. So it was almost like an ad campaign for us because the deal sizes were so small. So I really think it depends on kind of like the ASP and who you're selling to. And then after that, again, if you have a really shitty, ineffective process where you're just loading people up in with these canned emails that don't, provide any context or any other information than the fact that you want to sell to them, you're just gonna magnify or make worse the effect that you're having on the people that you're targeting. You're just gonna piss off more people than you were before. So it really doesn't help you to spend that kind of money and buy a product like that and not build the training around that. And that's the other part that you need. You need to make sure your reps are well trained and know how to use it. Otherwise, don't spend the money.
Yeah. And I think that you're absolutely right as far as like a SMB sale is that you have to create a digital journey for your customers and minimize the human touch as much as possible. But at some point, even in SMB, you need some type of human touch in order to sort of grow those seeded sales that have occurred. And so one of the things that we're seeing is that the channel is actually coming back into favor in regards to some of the SaaS companies that we're seeing. And so one of the things that we're doing at Nimble is we digitally drive people to our website through guerrilla PR, social content marketing, and influencer marketing. And then what happens is they digitally sign up for our platform. But what's happening now is we're starting to work with Microsoft resellers and distributors where we can then feed those seeds into those partners where they then grow those into multi-seed opportunities and spread, land, and expand within organizations. So I think there's a lot of routes to selling today that you should explore depending on the size of your customer as well as the size of the typical opportunity that you sell. But I don't think there's one size fits all. But I think that the one thing that I think sales is sort of evolving to is more of a service. I think service is the new sales, and I think that salespeople's reputations are built on the promises they make and the experience that they deliver, and they should be delivering value and finding ways to help businesses grow. And I think the whole idea of the Oracle bag 'em and tag 'em enterprise mentality is slipping away a little bit and in the sort of new modern age of selling. What do you think?
The best companies are rebranding their salespeople. I think like a lot of companies now that you're seeing, especially in tech, because the tech industry is so new, and a lot of these companies are building new categories. If you are creating a category or you're trying to build a leader in a category, figure out what your category is, and then your salespeople should embody that. So instead of an account executive or a sales development representative, maybe you're, I love how Drift does it. They have conversational marketing consultants, conversational marketing strategists, conversational marketing advisor, whatever you want to pick there. But I think you're again humanizing that role, and you're taking the kind of like the connotation of sales. Hey, I'm here to sell you something, which people have like a natural distrust for over years of working with kind of shitty salespeople, and they want to talk to an advisor. They want to talk to someone who's going to help them strategize around that area of their business, or consult them on that area of the business. So I like a lot of organizations, how they're, I think the leaders, in in these marketing organizations, are getting with their sales teams and saying like, hey, let's build a category leader, and let's, change how we're approaching our prospects, change how we're approaching our customers, and kind of the way in which we're approaching from a consultative point of view instead of a sales point of view. I think that's more like aligned in where the future of sales is going.
And I think what you just said is, I want to amplify, is that I think that, like I said before, a brand is built on the promises that it makes and experiences that it delivers. Much of that experience is delivered through the customer-facing business team members. And I think that a company needs to empower their team members to build their brand in order for the company's brand to not only be humanized, but actually to be seen by the marketplace today. If all you do is do content and promotion through your company brand, and you're not empowering your customer-facing business team members to build their brand, I really feel like you're missing the boat. And I here's just an example. I just Googled, pound IBM. I think that if Grace builds her brand, and that then will build the IBM brand. And I think that your network is your net worth. Your personal brand plus your professional network will help you achieve your dreams in life. And I think that every single company should be empowering their team members to be building their brands in order for a company to be successful today. And I think salespeople, they've been doing that really for a long time. But I think that with digital and social, you could just do that at a much greater level. What do you think?
Yeah, well, what I really like right now is what LinkedIn's done recently to their algorithm. So, again, Drift is another company that's doing this really well, but they're allowing their reps to go out and or not allowing, but encouraging their reps to go out and post things from the company. So if they have a product announcement or an event that they're doing, they get all their customer-facing reps, so basically everybody in sales, to post about that. And what that does is it builds the individual reps brand, gets them seen that they're supporting their company. It also gets the message out for the overall, company message that they're trying to get out there. And LinkedIn's algorithm, there are ways that you can do it. I'm in comment pods now where, if I want to post something on LinkedIn, I could put it in a group and people will like it and comment on it quickly so that it gets more viral. I think it's one of those things now where you can get hundreds of thousands of views on a post, on LinkedIn, and you can link that in the first comment to something in your organization. So it's allowing us to build a network for ourselves. And if you're a rep listening to this right now, that's a transferable asset for you. If you go out and you build your brand for your company, you're going to get job offers. You're going to be able to use that network that you build at other companies. It's your Rolodex. Like LinkedIn, your following on Twitter, your followers and connections on LinkedIn is your new Rolodex. And even if it's people who've just seen you like flash by once in a while, maybe they follow you, maybe you're connected, but you don't really know them. If you have that connection or you have that, kind of real estate on, their LinkedIn, it can go really far for you. So I think, I really like, the companies that are forcing their reps, or encouraging their reps to get out there and build their own brands, but also build it around the company.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is also, I want to amplify as well, is that your personal brand and your professional network is going to help you stand out, and that you should be working on that on a daily basis, and that you won't be working where you work in 1 to 5 years. The average is 3. And so you should have your own golden Rolodex, your own personal CRM. And you mentioned LinkedIn, but for me, LinkedIn's like one leg of a stool. So basically a chair has at least 3 legs. And so for me, relationships might start organically on Twitter, where a conversation starts, and then that conversation might shift to a connection in LinkedIn, which then shifts to an appointment and some emails. And ultimately, if you do it all right, the relationship shifts into a connection in places like Facebook and Instagram, because I think that people connect on the areas of commonality in life, the softer family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. And that when you take your connections from the one dimension of LinkedIn, like walking my business lobby, to connections across areas of commonality, then I think that you deepen the relationship and you keep it more real over the long run. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So let's talk about leveraging referrals and reviews. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is an area of the future of sales that I think is like really, really important. So somebody on your team has to be in charge of gathering reviews for review sites, whether it's G2 or Trust Radius or Capterra or wherever it is. But maybe it's a customer marketer, whatever it is. I think sales and marketing should work together on this, post sales, to make sure that you're getting, reviews and referrals in the honeymoon period. And that honeymoon period is like right after a deal closes. So you need to make sure that your product is valuable very quickly. It's not a product that you are that they need to hire a consultant to install, or is going to take 3 to 6 months to get set up. It's something that people can get in and get using very quickly. And then how are you going out and soliciting these reviews or referrals right afterwards? So you sign a deal with somebody and you're both very excited. They just got the product that they really wanted, which they've been telling their CEO or whatever that they've needed for so long. And you're excited. You just close the deal. How do you get that referral at that point? To reach out to the person you've done the deal with and ask them, hey, you're a VP of marketing. I'm sure you know a lot of people in the industry. Clearly you really needed a product, and we won the bake-off. Are there any other VPs of marketing that you can introduce us to so we can get them set up as well? Something like that, where you can use that referral right after the deal's done in that kind of honeymoon period where they're really happy they just got the product, and it's either getting set up or already getting use. Also the review. So you can pick a platform, or you can do it across multiple different platforms. But when people are searching for you right now, they're searching you versus your competitor. You probably want to be on the sites ranking highly when they do that. And the first things that are coming up these days are all these review sites. So the G2s of the world, Capterra, Trust Radius, all those. And so focusing on these review sites and making sure that you're showing well, is really important. And so if you're a salesperson on this, you might want to get with your marketing team or customer marketer or whatever you have, and make sure you have a plan or strategy around getting that referral in that honeymoon phase, but also getting people to write reviews that you can use in your sales process. I mean, like, I'd go so far as to put that in my email signature. If I had a really good quote from somebody or a really good review, I'd put that in my email signature. If I worked for an outreach or a sales loft and I was the winner in email deliverability, and I was talking to somebody that really cared about security and deliverability, I'd use that in my sales process. I'd link to the site and say, well, our own customers have voted us higher in email deliverability or GDPR and security. So I think it's a really interesting marketing tool that that salespeople need to be focused on, because it kind of starts in sales, and then you can build that alignment with marketing to make sure that it's happening on a larger level.
I agree, and I think many people are afraid to ask for referrals from customers, and I think that it should just be part of your natural motion. And I want to share how we do it digitally at Nimble. So depending on the platform that you're on, if you're on our web platform, if you're on our mobile platform, if you're on an iOS or Android platform, if you're in our Office 365 or Gmail G Suite platform, what we do is we ask you how you're doing. And depending on how you answer, if you say that you love it and you're doing great, we direct you to a reviews area where you could then put your review into Nimble. And so if you're on our web app, we might send you to a place like G2 Crowd. If you're on our iOS app, we'll send you to the Apple Store. And if you answer in a lower score, we will queue you into our customer service area. But I think that, that's the digital sort of outreach in regards to that. But I think that you should be doing some type of outreach on a personal level if you are selling directly. And one of the things I want to share is some tips on how to be sort of more personal in your sales process in order to get not only referrals and reviews, but actually close the deal as well. There was a sales rep named Cora Graham. She works for G2 Crowd, and we had a conversation about vinyl. I happen to collect vinyl and love listening to music, and she sent me record sleeves from I think it's Master Mobile Fidelity, I think is the name of the company that does the sleeves. But it's like that kind of personal outreach that builds the relationships and establishes that sort of connection so that you can get the sales, you can get the referrals, and you can get the reviews. So this is, I think, a big part of the cycle of sales that I think a lot of salespeople miss.
Yeah, I was just with Ryan Benici, their new CMO over at G2 yesterday, and I was kind of picking his brain. He said one of the best things that they've done was exactly that, sending people relevant objects, whether it's for enterprise companies. I think they sent drones out, which is like $1,000 a drone. But he said, we got a meeting with every one of those companies that we sent that to. It was like 100% hit rate. And they didn't send it to a ton. You pick, 5 to 10 of your enterprise, like big 6-7 figure contract types. But then, everything from AirPods to, again, like the vinyl sleeves, works, and you don't have to spend that much money on it. It's just the thought that counts type of thing, where you can, it just goes a lot further for you. And the direct mail is, it works these days. It just has to be thoughtful.
Yeah. And I think that like I said, the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. In a handwritten note saying simple thank you or will really go a long way. So back in the day, we experimented with direct mail, and Times Roman laser printed letters pull worse than courier font with yellow highlighting on it, where it looks more sort of not as sort of professionally done. And I think the same is true with videos. If you're creating videos, don't worry about making them perfect. Sometimes a mistake in your marketing will make you stand out more than something that's perfect. So let's talk about conversational and sales and marketing tips. What's your thoughts on that?
We used to put typos in subject lines and A/B test them just to see if it would make us look like, if it would work better and make it look more human. It wasn't the best look. We pulled back on it.
Okay. All right. So what's your thought about conversational sales and marketing tips?
Yeah. So, the companies that are building for this right now are, the Drift and the Intercoms of the world that are building chat, like on-site chat programs. And that's kind of why we brought this up. Really like this because it allows there to be a conversation in real time versus somebody filling out a lead form. And I think overall that the future of sales lies greatly in having a conversation versus a sales pitch. I'm almost in the boat where if you can ask a well-timed question and a well-researched question, it's better. You're actually better doing that than sending a outbound email with a bunch of bullet points about how you can, go into this whole pain point solving thing, and customers are seeing a 45% uptick in X, Y, and Z. You're selling to that person if you send that email versus actually trying to have a conversation and discover what that problem is. So if I'm having a problem and somebody sends me an email that's just out of the blue and it's one sentence and I can answer it very quickly and it's well researched and well timed, I'll do it. I can answer it on my phone. It took me 2 seconds to read it. I'll flick it back to them. And now we're in a conversation, and let's just keep that going. I think a lot of people are, and because you're in this hyper growth, I'm talking to the tech people who are at hyper growth companies, you have to grow so fast. You have leadership that's breathing down your neck to close deals quickly. And so you're impatient. And a lot of salespeople are really impatient. They just want the deal to get closed on the first, response. And, it's just about steps, about doing it in steps that gets them to the next step, that gets them to the next step. To get your job as an SDR is not to close the deal. Your job is to get them to the discovery, to get them to the demo, whatever it is, to that next step. And so being a little bit more patient about it. And I think, even the conversational marketing tools allow you to get rid of that discovery, because you can do it in real time right there on the chat and then schedule the demo. So it cuts out a huge part of the sales cycle. So the conversational side of sales is being a little bit more patient, but sending that email that's really easy for me to respond to and just send back. And that side of marketing is, those chatbots on site that allow you to qualify people on site, without them having to fill out a lead form. They fill out a lead form, then they go back to their day. By the time it gets routed to an SDR, the SDR follows up and the person's already moved on with their day. Now you have to schedule a discovery call. Now you go back and forth with them on scheduling for 2 weeks. They blow you off on that call. Now you haven't even done the demo yet versus, getting that chat done right on the site when they're focused on that thing, and then allowing that conversation to happen and getting it set up right away. So big fan of the on-site chat and obviously the trend of conversational sales and marketing, as a whole.
Yeah, and I think this goes even beyond the digital aspect of a SaaS company down to a sales conversation. How many times have you met with a salesperson and all they do is they want to get into their pitch? They don't really care about asking questions. They don't care about listening. They don't care about learning about you or your business. They didn't do their preparation, and all they want to do is go through their deck or their presentation and talk about how great their products and services are. But if you flip that around and you have somebody who has done their homework and they know who you are, they know what your business is about, they know your competitive landscape, they ask you effective questions, they let you talk, and they listen, and they find ways to add value, they immediately build intimacy and trust. And I'll tell you a story along this line. I was at a meeting with NEA, it's a VC in the Silicon Valley, and I was meeting with a partner and asked some questions, and I let him talk. He literally talked for 45 minutes, tell him his life story, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the 45 minutes, he was so in love with us, he had us come to their partner meeting the next day. And if you let somebody talk and you listen and you interject and add value, you're creating a connection there. And connections are extremely important in business. And I'll leave this slide with one last tip about connecting. I don't know if you've noticed, Max, but when you go to, have you ever been to Nordstrom's? It's a department store?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you go into Nordstrom's and you buy something at Nordstrom's, when they close the sale, they walk around the counter and they hand you the bag. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I have. It's a high touch there.
They're entering your space. They're building a connection. And I was checking out of my hotel in London a few days ago, and the person did just that. And I just laughed at myself, and I said, okay, I know you're trained to do this, but I actually dig it. I dig the fact that you're not handing me a receipt from over the counter. It's not an over the counter thing. It's a connection thing. And I actually recommend that you do this in meetings. I do walk-in talks as opposed to sitting at my desk and having a meeting with somebody else. And I was actually taught this to the VP of Biz Dev at LinkedIn, basically doing walk-in talks. And when you're walking with another human being, it creates a whole different connection than it does when you're doing it behind a desk or in a conference room. And all this is about conversational relationships in sales and marketing. So let's get to the next one, sales engagement tips and tricks. What are your ideas?
Yeah, so on the last comment real quick. I like what you're saying about the way that it make you feel. I think when you're selling to someone, you're selling to three different things. The person first, which is that trust and that rapport. the employee who works for the company. So you're saying, okay, well, if you do this, you're going to look like a hero. This software or whatever you're selling to them is going to make you look really good. It's going to fix a bunch of stuff that you've been worried about, that your team's been worried about. And then the company, here's the ROI that you're going to get from this. So I think if you can connect on those three things, you're usually putting yourself in a pretty good situation. And it kind of goes back to what you said about like building that rapport. But we'll go into sales engagement tips and tricks. So I mean, over time, this has changed a lot, and it also depends on your ASP and who you're targeting. If you're targeting enterprise, then you need to make sure that your cadence or whatever you set up is personalized, and you are hitting on a lot of different, I guess, like mediums or platforms. So you can go by phone, email, social, even direct mail. There's a couple companies now that plug into a lot of these platforms that allow you to send, some kind of swag or whatever you want to your customers. But I think the main thing is obviously keeping everything, conversational, well researched, somewhat personalized for, the enterprise play. And then for the SMB stuff, again, it's like inbox marketing. Your SMB has to be transactional to make the numbers work. And I'm not sure how many people here are listening that are venture-backed companies where they don't need sales to be profitable, because they can, fund sales out of VC and grow faster. But a lot of companies that do need sales to be profitable, and at some point you will need sales to be profitable, you can't do the same things at a company that's selling to SMBs as you can that are selling to enterprise.
Yeah, I think that what you mentioned about personal touch is critical, but how do you do that at scale? And one of the apps that I have played around with before is an app called Felt, and I think they have actually a plugin to Salesforce that enables you to do that. But what you can do is you can give it your handwriting, and it'll learn your handwriting, and then you could essentially send people handwritten cards and notes, or even pictures, and it all works in your iPhone. So it's pretty cool to be able to have the ability to send those sort of personalized connection engagements.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one. I think there's like one called Sendoso that allows you to send stuff. There's PFL. That's another one that allows you to send things. I think a lot of SaaS companies that I talk to have a lot of luck sending kind of swag items, especially from customer success. So, the direct mail stuff, while it is in some ways a little bit more old school, it's not a lot of crazy tech there, it does work. It gets people's attention. And even just kind of like, silly, witty things that, I've seen one company send stuff that was like, oh, I know this is going in the trash, but, I figure that, I forgot it was like, I don't know, it tied together their product with the fact that they know where the letter is going. It's like real-time AI tracking type thing. But I thought that was cute. It's like witty. It's like, okay, like I'll remember this. I might not like give you the meeting, but for the couple bucks it costs to send, it's part of that effective frequency. And as a salesperson, you're doing a lot of work marketing towards the people that you're selling to. So there's in the advertising world, there's a thing called effective frequency, or the law of 7, which says it takes 7 touches for someone to recognize your brand. So if you're sending emails, you're making phone calls, you're, in their LinkedIn, in their Twitter, you're sending stuff to them that ends up on their desk. Those are all touch points that if you can get them to open the email, if you get them to even like listen to the voicemail or pick up the phone one time, or, read the mention of the retweet, or see the connection or the message on LinkedIn, you're starting to build that real estate in their head a little bit, where it's like, okay, I'm starting to recognize, this brand. And then they're going to see the marketing stuff, which is, retargeting and any billboards or whatever else you have that'll allow them to, see the brand even more.
Yeah, I think that there's a guy named Jim Cecil who taught me about nurture marketing. He just passed away, but he basically used to quote that it takes 22 touches before somebody's in a prime buying cycle. And this guy was like he was like a preacher. And I actually built automated processes, something I trademarked at Goldmine, which was if this and that for people and companies. So you can basically put somebody on a track. Day 1, do this. Day 7, do that. If this happens, stop this and do that. And I think that many salespeople give up before they really are even close to getting the sale. And so I here's an example of an outreach that I did as sort of a sales engagement trick to a conference. And I think that salespeople need to be their own marketers. And so if you are going to a conference, you should prepare before that conference and set up meetings and build a presence before you even get there. And so Microsoft asked me to come speak on social sales and marketing at their World Partner Conference. And what I did is I went and found a Twitter list of influencers from the previous year's conference. I imported that Twitter list into Nimble because Nimble enables you to import a Twitter list. Once that list was in Nimble, I segmented the 3,500 into 200 people based off our areas of commonality along sales and marketing. And that email that I sent was an email that came out of Nimble, but it felt like a one-to-one email that came from my email address, John@Nimble. And I actually got a 50% open rate. I scheduled 25 meetings. As a result of that, signed a deal with Microsoft, who became a global reseller of Nimble, where they sell it alongside Office 365 with their resellers. And I think you need to be thinking like that as a salesperson, and you need to be your own marketer in today's world. You can't rely on your marketing department to be filling your queue or to nurturing your leads, let alone your network. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fully with you.
Cool. So what about social, research, content, and community? That's a lot of stuff, but it's all related.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it all needs to be done efficiently. You can't have your salespeople spending 75% of their time researching and 25% of their time selling. So you need to find ways to make your team efficient. Again, especially if your sales team is not profitable, depending what organization you're in, I think you should always be striving for some kind of sales efficiency and making sales profitable. But these are things that are gonna be somewhat like future-proof for you. So if your company's building a community, that's something that's future-proof. That's something that'll always be there. That isn't, one of those things where you're only as good as the last dollar you spent on demand gen. Something that'll always be working for you. Same thing with content. If you have a really good organization around creating your own content, keeping that content stored in a place where salespeople can access it and get it out to the masses very easily, you're going to have a lot easier time selling. I mean, even working with your marketing team to make sure that they're taking snippets of reviews, arming you with that collateral so that you can use those in sales processes when somebody has an objection. So, for example, you're in a sales process and somebody's like, "Oh, well, I don't know about your SOC 2 or security or whatever you're talking about, encryption." You can have something that your marketing team's already pulled out for you that's like, "All right, well, here are 5 reviews on G2 that say that talk about our security and how happy these companies were with it." Or here's something about security from our customer Palo Alto networks, and they're like 1,000 plus employee company. So if you're selling to like a 200 person company, then you know that their security team is much harder on new vendors than your security team is going to be. So if it was good enough for them, it should be good enough for you. So making sure that you have content and different things that your team's pulled out and enables their reps to be able to use. And then walking back through this, the research and the social part, leveraging platforms like Nimble and other things that allow you to do more with less. So not spend that time researching, be able to get it real quick so that you can actually spend your time selling and not your time scouring the web, trying to pull content, trying to pull different things you can use in the sales process. It should be quick and easy. Salespeople should be inch wide, mile deep. The more time you can get them actually spend selling and selling activities and less time researching, the more successful your company is going to be. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that so much time is wasted Googling people and logging information, and ultimately the opportunity to engage happens right in front of you all the time. And so being able to pull up records and fish people out of the river and build relationships is critical. And so, here's an example of somebody interacting with me in social, and they happen to be, a sales decision maker at a company. You want to be able to pull that out of the stream and be able to engage with them. And that's sort of the example that happened with me not too long ago, when this person interacted with me on social, and I was able to pull that relationship out of there through a RAND and drive that relationship into a face-to-face meeting where we both had breakfast together, where he became an evangelist for our company. But getting back to, because I know you've got to go in a few minutes, let's go through some of the Q&A that we have here. There's a few questions that I pulled out of here. One of them is, do you have any insights into consulting services sales? Question by Ken. Max? Okay. I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I was on mute. Sorry.
That's right.
So he wanted to know about selling his consulting services over selling like a SaaS product. And I think, one of the things we went into here that's probably most important for someone who's selling consulting services is referrals. That's like the number one thing that you can do. So you need to get quotes, testimonials from people who you've worked with already that, had a successful history with you. And then also anything you can put on the web that's gonna, like whether it's, something on your own LinkedIn or, something on your landing page, that works too. But then the referral piece, which is, all right, after a successful engagement with someone, the first thing you should ask them is like, hey, I bet 2 or 3 people at least that could benefit from my services. Maybe offer them a kicker for it. Maybe if they're super happy with your services, they do it, very happily. But referrals, I think, is your best friend if you're doing consulting and selling those services.
Perfect. And then we have a question by Michelle. Could you give an example of the type of question you put in an easy to reply to email?
Oh man, not off the top of my head because it really depends on what you're selling. For me, if I'm a VP of marketing or a VP of sales, I'm probably heavily leveraging intent data, and then would probably come up with a question around something that somebody is looking at, or so that, buying intent data through like a Bombora or G2 crowd would be one way to do it. Yeah, it's just tough to like come up with one on the spot and not knowing like an industry or something like that. But if somebody knew I was in the market for a product and were to send me just a quick line about it, it might be something like, let's see, maybe a month ago we were in the market for like a new finance team. So if somebody had known that, or had done their research and sent something around like kind of in that form where what are you looking for in your new team, or what kind of services you're looking for, just quick and easy like that, I'd probably give them an answer, just like flick my thumb through the phone and respond to that question.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. So let's say you're a headhunter and you see that a company is looking for a new director of digital marketing, and you send a simple email that essentially says, what's the one thing that would make this digital marketer perfect for you? Or I see that you're interested in this. What would be the one thing? Or another thing is you could use tools that look at companies, and you could determine when their contract's going to be up for your products or services from a competitor. And you could say, what is the one thing that would make you switch, or something along those lines. Some
Yeah.
feedback from the audience. Great pearls of wisdoms. This reinforces what I'm doing. Need to be more personal, less used car sales. So great to hear that feedback. Max, I know that you are out of time, so I'm going to let you run, and I'll close out and give them the kind of offers that you've offered them. Max, I want to thank you for sharing your pearls of wisdom. Safe travels back to New York, and let's reconnect regarding the ancestry stuff, because I'd love to help you discover your boot camp.
That sounds awesome, man. I'm gonna get all that for you. Thanks for having me, and hope everybody enjoyed. And catch you soon.
All right, thanks, Max. So for the people that are here, I want to thank everybody for attending. We have an offer from Nimble. If you don't have a Nimble license today, go sign up for a trial. Check it out. Even if you have a CRM in your company, Nimble can work in conjunction with that CRM, because we bidirectionally synchronize with your existing social sales and marketing systems. So here's an example. Even if you have something like Salesforce or HubSpot, basically if you open up Nimble, Nimble is smart on that record and will automatically build records for you, which is pretty boss. And if you, during your trial, enter John 40, you'll get 40% off on your Nimble for the first 3 months. If you already have a paid Nimble plan, write to our Care at Nimble team, and we'll give you 100 contact lookups for our prospector tool. If you haven't checked that out, it's pretty amazing. So the way that works is, if I'm looking at a person and I want to build a record for them, Nimble will automatically go and build a record for a person. But then after you build the record, it'll automatically give you their email and phone number information as well. That's our prospector plan. And check out Max's saleshacker.com. He's got great resources for B2B sales, marketing, and thought leadership. And check out his books. He's got a hacking sales book, and recently did hacking careers. And connect with me and the Nimble team. Let us know how we can help you grow. My email is jon@nimble. Feel free to reach out. Let me know how we can help you grow in 2018 and beyond. So thank you so much for attending. Good luck and good selling. Bye-bye.